Today, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked yet powerful ways to transform how you feel throughout the day, and it starts the moment you wake up. Science shows that a single morning activity can dramatically improve your energy, focus, and even your sleep at night. This isn't about supplements or complicated routines. It's about leveraging your biology, using what your brain and body are already designed to do. By the end of this talk, you'll know exactly what to do tomorrow morning to feel more awake, focused, and to set yourself up for deep, restorative sleep tonight. When you wake up in the morning, your brain and body need a strong signal that it's time to be awake, alert, and ready to move through the day. One of the most powerful ways to send that signal is by exposing your eyes to natural sunlight. This is not just a wellness hack, it is grounded in decades of neuroscience and circadian biology research. Inside your eyes are specialized neurons called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. These cells don't care about shapes, colors, or visual detail. They are designed to detect the brightness of light, particularly blue wavelengths that are abundant in natural sunlight, especially in the early part of the day. When these cells detect bright light, they send a signal directly to a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the master clock of your body. That clock then synchronizes every cell in your body, telling your hormones, metabolism, and nervous system that it is daytime. Getting this light exposure early does a few remarkable things. First, it triggers a rapid increase in cortisol, not the stress kind of cortisol we fear, but a healthy pulse that promotes wakefulness, focus, and energy. It's like flipping the switch on your brain's alertness system. At the same time, morning light starts a timer in your brain that will count forward about 14 to 16 hours, preparing your body to release melatonin later in the evening, which helps you fall asleep more easily and stay asleep more deeply. Without this morning light, that clock can drift, leading to grogginess during the day, trouble falling asleep at night, and generally feeling out of sync. The best way to do this is to go outside within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, even if it's cloudy. Sunlight, even through clouds, is far more powerful than indoor lighting. Indoor light typically ranges from 100 to 500 lux, whereas outdoor light is often 0 lux or more even on an overcast day. This difference is massive in terms of the biological signal it gives your brain. If you absolutely cannot get outside, sitting near a bright window is better than nothing, but glass filters out some of the most important wavelengths, so being outdoors is ideal. You don't need to stare at the sun, in fact. Never look directly at the sun, but allow light to enter your eyes naturally by facing the general direction of the sky. If it's bright and sunny, a few minutes is enough. If it's cloudy or you are awake very early when the sun is low, you may need 10 to 20 minutes to get the same effect. Pairing this with light movement like a short walk can enhance the effect by further activating your nervous system and improving blood circulation, which contributes to the wake-up process. This habit also has long-term effects on mental health. Studies show that people who get consistent morning light exposure have lower rates of depression and anxiety, likely because their circadian rhythms are better aligned. Morning light also improves dopamine regulation in the brain, which can enhance motivation, learning, and even mood stability throughout the day. In a very real sense, stepping outside into the morning light is one of the most accessible and free ways to take control of your energy levels, your focus, and your sleep quality. When you wake up, your nervous system is transitioning from the slower brain waves of sleep into the alert state required to move, think, and focus. One of the most effective ways to accelerate that process is to engage in some form of physical movement early in the day. This doesn't have to mean a full workout or going to the gym, though it certainly can if that's your preference. The key is to create a state change in your body through movement that signals to your brain that it is time to be alert and active. When you move, your muscles release signaling molecules called myokines, which communicate with your brain and other organs to elevate metabolism, increase blood flow, and improve mood. Even a short period of light physical activity, such as walking around the block, doing bodyweight stretches, or simple mobility exercises can trigger these effects. Movement in the morning also impacts your brain chemistry. It raises levels of dopamine and norepinephrine, two neurochemicals that increase alertness, motivation, and drive. This is particularly powerful when paired with morning light exposure because it provides the brain with a double signal. Light tells your circadian clock it's daytime, and movement reinforces the wakefulness signal by increasing heart rate and circulating oxygen, rich blood to the brain. When you combine these, you shift your system more quickly into a state of focus and readiness for the day. From a hormonal standpoint, early-day movement also supports healthy cortisol rhythm. Cortisol should peak shortly after waking, and physical activity helps this process occur efficiently. If you delay movement until much later, you may feel sluggish for hours, relying on caffeine or sugar to artificially boost energy. Moving soon after waking creates a natural, sustainable rise in energy that carries you through the morning without as many dips. This doesn't just apply to physical energy. Your cognitive energy, the ability to concentrate and make decisions, also benefits. Exercise increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and executive function, making you more productive earlier in the day. Morning movement can also be tailored to your goals. If your priority is fat loss or metabolic health, exercising in a fasted state can slightly increase fat utilization, though it's not required for everyone. If your goal is simply to feel awake, 5 to 10 minutes of dynamic stretching, yoga, or even dancing to music you enjoy is enough to get your heart rate elevated and shake off the residual grogginess from sleep. For people who prefer more intense exercise, resistance training or cardiovascular workouts done in the first half of the day can improve sleep quality at night because they raise core body temperature early, allowing it to drop more deeply at bedtime, which is a critical component of falling asleep quickly. There is also a mental health benefit to early movement. Physical activity releases endorphins and can reduce stress hormones like adrenaline if they are elevated from waking. This has the effect of improving mood and reducing anxiety, setting a positive tone for the rest of the day. Morning exercise has been shown to improve resilience to stress, meaning that even when challenges arise later, you are more capable of handling them calmly and effectively. This creates a feedback loop where the simple act of moving your body shortly after waking can shape the trajectory of your entire day, not just physically but mentally and emotionally as well. When you wake up in the morning, your body is in a naturally dehydrated state. You have just gone 6, 7, maybe even 8 hours without any fluid intake, yet during sleep you still lose water through breathing and sweating. This mild dehydration can leave you feeling sluggish, mentally foggy, and even anxious. One of the simplest but most effective things you can do to set your system up for alertness and performance is to drink water shortly after waking, ideally before you consume any caffeine. The reason this matters so much is that hydration directly impacts the function of your brain and nervous system. Even a 1 to 2% drop in body water can reduce cognitive performance, slow reaction times, and make it harder to focus. Drinking water first thing in the morning rapidly replenishes lost fluids and helps restore blood volume, which is essential for proper circulation. When blood volume is low, your heart has to work harder to pump blood, and this can contribute to a feeling of fatigue or lightheadedness. Rehydration supports healthy blood pressure and ensures that oxygen and nutrients can be delivered efficiently to tissues, including your brain. This is why many people notice that simply having a glass of water shortly after waking helps them feel more awake. From a neuroscience perspective, hydration plays a role in balancing the electrolytes that regulate nerve impulses and muscle contractions. Sodium, potassium, and magnesium are critical for neurons to fire correctly and for muscles to contract smoothly. If you wake up feeling groggy or with muscle cramps, it can be a sign that electrolyte balance is off. Many people benefit from adding a pinch of salt or an electrolyte mix to their morning water, especially if they sweat a lot at night or live in hot climates. This can enhance hydration by allowing the body to retain water more effectively rather than flushing it out too quickly. Drinking water before caffeine is particularly important because caffeine is a mild diuretic and can accelerate fluid loss. If you start your day with coffee on an empty stomach without first replenishing fluids, you may end up even more dehydrated, leading to headaches, jitteriness, or a mid-morning energy crash. A simple routine might be to drink 300 to 500 milliliters of water immediately after waking, wait a few minutes, and then proceed with your morning coffee or tea. This sequence helps stabilize your system and prevents the roller coaster effect of spiking cortisol and adrenaline too rapidly. Hydration also influences metabolism and digestion. Drinking water in the morning stimulates the gastrointestinal tract and can help move waste through the system, which is part of why many people feel the urge to go to the bathroom soon after hydrating. This is a natural and healthy process that helps reset your gut for the day. Adequate hydration has also been shown to slightly increase metabolic rate, meaning your body burns calories a bit more efficiently. While the effect is not dramatic, it contributes to an overall feeling of energy and readiness. Mood and mental clarity are strongly tied to hydration status as well. Studies have shown that even mild dehydration can increase perceived effort during cognitive tasks, meaning everything feels harder. Rehydrating early in the day improves alertness and can even reduce feelings of stress because the brain regions involved in mood regulation, such as the anterior cingulate cortex, operate more efficiently when well hydrated. This is why a consistent habit of drinking water upon waking can make mornings feel smoother and reduce the likelihood of starting the day in a state of mental fog. Caffeine is one of the most widely used psychoactive compounds in the world, and for good reason. It increases alertness, improves mood, and can even enhance physical and cognitive performance. But the timing of when you consume caffeine is just as important as how much you consume, because your brain has its own natural wake-up chemistry that works best when allowed to run its course. When you wake up, your body releases cortisol, a hormone that follows a natural circadian rhythm. Cortisol rises rapidly in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, peaking in what's called the cortisol awakening response. This rise is crucial because it helps you feel alert, raises blood sugar to provide energy, and primes your immune system and metabolism for the day ahead. If you consume caffeine immediately upon waking, you blunt the natural rise in cortisol and rely on an artificial stimulant rather than your body's own chemistry to achieve alertness. Over time, this can make you dependent on caffeine just to feel baseline awake, rather than using it strategically for a true boost. Delaying caffeine by about 90 minutes after waking allows cortisol to peak and then naturally begin to decline. At that point, adenosine, and the molecule that builds up during sleep and makes you feel sleepy, is being cleared from your system, but not fully gone. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, so if you consume it too early, it competes with adenosine while it's still being cleared, and the result is often a caffeine crash a few hours later when adenosine builds back up faster. Waiting a bit creates a cleaner, more sustained rise in energy that lasts longer into the day. From a neuroscience standpoint, delaying caffeine also supports the proper functioning of the locus coeruleus and other arousal centers in the brainstem that regulate wakefulness. These systems are designed to ramp up gradually in the morning, and allowing them to do their job without interference helps strengthen your circadian rhythm. People who consistently delay caffeine often report that their morning energy feels more stable, and their first cup of coffee feels more effective because it is supporting an already active system rather than trying to start a sluggish one. Another important factor is how caffeine affects sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours in most people, meaning half of what you consumed is still in your system 5 to 6 hours later. If you consume caffeine too early and rely on multiple cups to keep you going throughout the day, you may end up with elevated caffeine levels well into the evening, making it harder to fall asleep or reducing the depth of slow wave sleep. By delaying your first cup, you often need less total caffeine to stay alert because your natural cortisol rhythm has already done part of the work. This means you are less likely to disrupt sleep later that night. Practical ways to delay caffeine include starting the day with water, light exposure, and movement to create natural alertness first. Once you have been awake for about an hour and a half, enjoy your coffee or tea knowing that you are stacking it on top of your body's natural rhythm. Some people find that shifting their caffeine to this window not only makes mornings feel smoother, but also reduces the afternoon slump because the energy boost is more sustained and less likely to lead to a crash. Others notice improved sleep quality and easier wake-ups the following day, creating a positive feedback loop that strengthens both energy levels and circadian alignment over time. One of the most powerful yet underrated tools for improving energy, focus, and sleep quality is simply going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time every day, including weekends. Your brain and body operate on a circadian rhythm, an internal 24-hour clock that governs everything from hormone release to digestion, body temperature, and cognitive performance. When you wake up at a consistent time, you train this internal clock to be predictable, and predictability is what allows your biology to run smoothly. The suprachiasmatic nucleus in the hypothalamus, which serves as your master clock, thrives on regularity. When it receives consistent wake-up signals, light exposure, movement, food timing, it aligns all the other clocks in your body's tissues, from your liver to your gut to your muscles. Consistency sets the stage for a cascade of biological processes to occur at the right time. Cortisol peaks shortly after waking, melatonin begins to rise in the evening, core body temperature follows a regular rhythm, and neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine cycle properly. When you constantly shift your wake-up time, you disrupt this carefully tuned orchestra, leading to something akin to social jet lag, feeling tired during the day even if you technically slept enough hours. This is why many people feel groggy on Monday mornings after staying up and sleeping in on the weekend. Their internal clock has shifted, and it takes days to readjust. By keeping a consistent wake-up time, you eliminate the need for your brain and body to play catch-up. Consistency also has a direct effect on sleep quality. Going to bed and waking up at the same time trains your brain to release melatonin on schedule, which allows you to fall asleep faster and enter deep sleep more efficiently. Deep sleep is when the brain clears metabolic waste, consolidates memories, and repairs neural circuits. If your sleep and wake times are irregular, melatonin release becomes mistimed, and you may find yourself lying awake in bed or waking up in the middle of the night. When your circadian rhythm is stable, your sleep becomes more restorative, which means you wake up feeling naturally energized without needing an alarm clock or heavy doses of caffeine. Another benefit of a consistent schedule is that it aligns with other biological rhythms, such as feeding and digestion. When you wake up at the same time, you tend to eat meals at regular intervals, which improves insulin sensitivity and metabolic health. Your gut microbiome also operates on a circadian rhythm, and irregular sleep and wake patterns can disrupt the diversity and function of gut bacteria, which has downstream effects on mood, immunity, and even cognition. Keeping a regular schedule is one of the simplest ways to support gut health without changing anything else about your diet. From a psychological standpoint, consistency reduces decision fatigue. Waking up at the same time every day creates a sense of structure and momentum that carries through the rest of your day. You spend less mental energy figuring out when to sleep or when to wake, and can focus more on productive activities. Over time, this regularity reinforces a positive feedback loop. Because you sleep better, you wake with more energy, which makes it easier to maintain the routine. For people struggling with insomnia, establishing a consistent wake-up time is often the first and most effective intervention recommended by sleep researchers, because it anchors the circadian rhythm and allows other sleep-related processes to fall into place naturally.